vehicles made will be electric. And I think that's likely to happen, I think, before the end of this decade. But then there's still, another 20 years beyond that before the fleet really becomes majority. So.
Yeah, and it's interesting because as we've done the analysis for California, we have an executive order that calls for all new vehicle sales being zero emission by 2035. That's in line with the forecast that we've had in our own scenario analysis. That still puts us at about 3/4 of passenger vehicles being electric in 2045 when it's taken to net zero. It could be off by a little bit, but.
I think that the larger point is that demand for electricity is going to be extremely high. So I hope this is good news. If you just do the rough back of the envelope math, you need to roughly triple electricity to get to a fully electric economy. Roughly a third of power is electric, and then these are very rough numbers. Roughly a third is spent in transportation of various kinds with the fossil fuels or hydrocarbons, and then roughly a third is heating. So even assuming the sort of current economic usage, electricity per capita being constant, you're looking at roughly a tripling of electricity demand. So it's really going to take a tremendous effort to address this demand. This is sort of, I think, very, very good news for those producing electricity, but also entails a tremendous amount of work ahead in new production capacity and production capacity that is as sustainable as possible.
Well, I mean, it requires a whole system we ran through now. You are dealing with the storage side and the vehicle side and the charging side, and we'll talk a bit more about that in a bit.
Yeah.
We have the wires, but we need support from all across the economy.
Absolutely, it's really very much a joint effort. I think it's a very positive future for the producers and distributors of electricity. Really couldn't ask for a better, a growing market that's going to grow in a better way than this. But it is a tremendous amount of hard work, as anyone here knows, to actually put that generation in place and then transport it to where it gets used, and then dealing with the peaks and then taking advantage of the valleys of power production. I mean, that's really where, like the Tesla megapack that you were just alluding to, is actually incredibly helpful, is in sort of peak shaving the grid, basically charging up when you have excess power production, and then releasing it when you have insufficient power production where you want to peak shave. It's I really believe that stationary battery packs are absolutely the way to go. It is actually the fastest growing portion of the entire Tesla business. So our vehicles are growing 50% a year, but our stationary storage is growing at 200% to 300% a year. So it's really, it's really a big deal. It's really helpful. It's just obviously it's a battery at scale, and it buffers electricity. If you do electricity buffered, then it's a good product.
Well, we'll get back to the electric vehicle side in a minute, but I remember when you and I spoke a number of years ago, you already had that vision of global electrification.
Yeah.
And I think you positioned your company right with storage fees, with solar, so this integrated view of where the market is going and how Tesla fits into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's fundamentally three pillars to a sustainable energy future. One is sustainable energy generation, which is solar, wind, hydro. I'm actually, a fan of nuclear, good old fission. I think it's underrated. I mean, we could easily supply all of the world's electricity with fission, but people, I don't know, sometimes their understanding of physics is not amazing, and so scared of things, we shouldn't be scared of. So, um, so I'm very much pro. Anyway, so basically, any electricity we say, okay, this is not going to meaningfully change the chemistry of planet and oceans, the atmospheric oceans, and so. Anyway, so you've got sustainable electricity generation on one side, then you've got stationary batteries as the second pillar, which is needed for any kind of intermittent electricity production, and by its nature, solar and wind are intermittent. So batteries and solar and wind go together extremely well. And then the third pillar is electric transport. So get all three of those pillars going, and we have a sustainable future as long as the sun shines and the wind blows, which is going to be a long time.
Well, I think, this idea of having a balance across these resources, it takes a lot of tools in the toolbox. Let me get back to electric vehicles though, because I'd love to go a couple levels deeper here.
Sure.
We're talking some, a few minutes ago, I think that was more on passenger vehicles. But let's talk a bit about bigger ones. So, we're all excited to see the first Tesla semi-trucks on the road in California. And that means a lot in terms of the reliability of trucking systems in the future. You also have the US EPA, proposed vehicle standards that could accelerate the medium and heavy duty electrification. You have California doing its thing as well, as a number of other states. But ultimately, the vehicles need to be economical for fleet operators, and particularly in Southern California, where we have all the traffic coming up from the ports. A lot of those truck operators are not big fleets, right? They're small mom and pop owners. So how quickly are you thinking that freight movement really goes electric and in a way that's affordable, so that you can really serve that mix of owners out there?
Yeah, well, I think I'd certainly encourage people to look at our semi-truck presentation, because in fact, one of the things we emphasize with the electric semi-truck is that it's much more energy efficient than a diesel truck. You get things like regenerative braking. So, like, let's say you're going over a mountain range. Well, in a diesel truck, you actually don't capture the energy, high potential energy. You have to actually spend a lot of money on expensive brakes going down the other side, so you don't run out of control. So whereas an electric semi-truck is able to recapture the energy, the gravitational potential energy, and actually, when it goes down the other side, does not overheat brakes, and in fact puts the energy back intact. So things like that are incredibly helpful for energy efficiency. And then just generally look at the entire chain from electricity production to take into account the efficiency of the energy produced, the energy loss during transmission, energy loss during charging,